The Foreign and Expatriates Ministry has addressed two identical messages to the chairman of the UN Security Council and the UN Secretary General on the terrorist explosions that occurred in the main square of Jaramana. The ministry affirmed that those cowardly terrorist acts would not succeed in shaking up coexistence and civil peace enjoyed by the Syrian people for centuries. The ministry stressed that this terrorist act was an extension of the similar terrorist blasts that had been perpetrated by the criminal gangs and foreign mercenaries in some Syrian governorates. The ministry called in its messages for a clear international condemnation by the Security Council of such terrorist barbaric acts and for measures to be taken concerning the states and regional sides that financed such horrible acts and harbor their perpetrators. Russia has reiterated its principled stand calling for dialogue to solve the crisis in Syria and guarantee the implementation of the Geneva Statement. In a statement that preceded scheduled meetings in Moscow between Russian officials and a delegation of the Opposition National Coordination Commission, the Russian Foreign Ministry said the proposed meetings come within the framework of Russia's policy aimed at conducting dialogue with both the Syrian government and various sides of the opposition. The ministry said that Russia's principled stand aims at involving all sides in the Syrian national dialogue, guaranteeing the implementation of what was agreed upon in Geneva late last June and convincing all parties to sit at the table of dialogue. The Coordination Commission delegation held a press conference following their meeting with Russian officials and stressed that the solution of the crisis in Syria should be Syrian, based on the Geneva Statement and ensuring the appropriate atmosphere for dialogue. The delegation members said that they discussed with the Russian officials the necessity of halting violence and preventing the smuggling of weapons. They affirmed the necessity of unifying the opposition on the basis of a political work plan and not according to foreign diktat. An explosive device stuck in a microbus was detonated at the entrance of Al-Warud quarter in Damascus countryside yesterday evening. News reports said that a number of citizens were killed and others were wounded as a result of the terrorist explosion. A unit of our armed forces clashed with an armed terrorist group from al-Nusra Front that belongs to al-Qaeda organization, inflicting heavy losses on terrorists in Daraya in Damascus suburb. A source declared that most members of the terrorist group were killed. They had terrified citizens and attacked their properties around Al-Khulani Mosque in the center of Daraya city. The source added that the terrorists desecrated Al-Khulafa al-Rashidin Mosque and ransacked its contents and furniture. They burnt some houses and shops in Al-Corniche district. The source said another unit of our armed forces eliminated some terrorists in Al-Husayniya village in Damascus suburb. One of them was a Tunisian. An army unit stormed an armed terrorist group affiliated to al-Qaeda in Al-Diabiya in Damascus countryside. An official source said that a number of terrorists were killed and others wounded. The source added that some terrorists were killed during a fight between two terrorist groups in the same area. Al-Qaeda-linked terrorists have detonated an explosive device in a Sahara neighborhood in Daraa, leaving several casualties and causing huge material damage on the site. Here are some videos showing the bulk of damage caused by the terrorist explosion. During storming in operations of Qaeda-linked terrorist groups' hideouts in Tafas town in Daraa suburbs, security forces killed and wounded scores of terrorists and seized a vehicle loaded with 5 tons of medical material and foodstuffs that had been earlier stolen from the Syrian Red Crescent branch in Daraa. The engineering units also dismantled 18 landmines planted by the armed terrorist groups on the roads leading to Tafas. In Homs suburbs, an army unit clashed with al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group who had tried to attack a law enforcement troops barricade. Huge losses were inflicted on the group. The Lebanese Al-Akhbar daily stressed that it obtained tape recordings of the Lebanese MP from Al-Mustaqbal Current Aqab Saqr that prove his direct involvement in smuggling weapons to the armed terrorist groups in Syria. The Daily added that the recordings disclosed the role played by Saqr in Turkey for supporting the armed terrorist groups in Syria. They also disclosed Saqr's involvement in offering logistic support for the armed groups in Syria at the directives of Saad al-Hariri. The Daily published the text of the first recording between Saqr and a leader of an armed terrorist group.